really, well, they didn't like these Morphin girls, of course. Yeah, like in any war, you always have people collaborating with Germans, and this was seen as collaboration as well. Yeah.
Yeah, you saw after the liberation of France that they would shave the women's heads, the ones that would
Yes. Yeah.
go with the
The
Nazis.
exact same
Yeah.
thing happened here in the Netherlands. Yeah.
Well, good. you know,
Yeah,
if
good.
that's the worst that
Or I
happened.
mean,
Yeah,
yeah, I don't know because it was in public,
yeah.
and then the women got all the shame, while
Oh,
they
yeah,
were not always really the ones to blame. So yeah, it's
yeah.
complicated.
Yeah, I got you. I got you.
Yeah.
Now, what about now? You talk about how the Jews were not allowed to go through the park and they were forced to wear stars. What did the average person in the Netherlands? They were okay with this?
Well, no. I mean, most people obviously, of course, weren't, but they were too afraid or just really focusing on their own survival and that of their families. So they were afraid to resist. But no, they wouldn't agree, but they wouldn't really resist either. The majority of people,
Does that concern you?
unfortunately, yeah.
Yeah, I know. You're right. Does that concern you, especially like in today's times, all the things we're going through? You hear Trump talking about Article 2 of the Constitution, that he's going to suspend Congress, and everyone just goes about their day like it's nothing's wrong. Does that concern you?
Yes, of course.
Yeah.
I think people always need to be aware of all the dangers around them, and there's only a very few people who really rise up
Mm.
against dangers. Unfortunately, yeah, that's why these stories are so important, and we can learn from
And
them.
and in your professional life, you've traveled to these countries, Kosovo and Rwanda, where atrocities are
Yes,
occurring. Right now,
yes.
do you think it's far fetched to think that that couldn't happen next door to you or next door to me?
No, that's the fascinating part. There's something within every human being. Apparently, human beings are capable of committing horrible crimes. And yeah, I've always been fascinated by that ever since I was a little girl, and it can happen everywhere, anytime. Uh, yeah, it's very easy to say, oh, well, it's Africa, it's far away, but
Right.
Kosovo is still Europe. It's pretty close. Bosnia is close. I mean, look what's happening here. Also, World War II didn't start with the gas chambers. It started with discrimination and exclusion, and that happens on a daily basis everywhere, unfortunately.
Yeah, when we need to open our eyes to this and be more uh, proactive and
Yep.
protect our own rights and our own and the rights of people around us. Now, these young ladies, how
Yeah. So, oh, sorry. Yeah.
how extreme did it get? Their activities in resisting?
Well, like I described the seducing part, but then the killing parts. I mean, they would call it to liquidate a specific target. But yeah, they carried out quite a few of these liquidations. So the seducing part was only a small part of it, and then the majority of their missions was that the entire Council of Resistance would map out in advance which target had to be eliminated, and then these girls would uh, often work in pairs, and for example, ride their bicycles, follow this target, ask them if they really were the person that they were after, and then shoot this particular person. And well, yes, obviously, I mean, they only shot real traitors, but they did take human life. So it was extremely difficult for the women themselves
Now,
as well. Yeah.
did it become like a common knowledge amongst the Nazis that hey, when you go to these bars, these young women are coming here and they're luring us out to kill us. Be on the watch for this.
Well, yes and no. Yes, at one point their profile was known, so that's why they had to dress up differently. I mean, Cruz would also dress up as a man, for example, wearing a hat. And at one point, the work became so perilous that Honey Schaft, who had beautiful red hair, had to dye her hair black and wear glasses made out of window glass. So they really had to disguise themselves in order, and change their tactics in order not to get caught.
Now, would the stories of these assassinations be reported in the news, in the newspapers and stuff?
Yes, and often there would be reprisals, for example, and that's also one of the things that made it really difficult. I remember Truus also telling me once that after one of the missions that they carried out, there was a reprisal where they just arrested 10 random men on the street, put them against a wall, and shot them, and she was forced to watch. So that's really the cruelty of war, that if they would not have eliminated this target, then these men would still be alive. But if they would not have killed this Nazi target, then maybe some Jewish people would have been caught and brought to concentration camps. So it's like an insane moral dilemma, really. Yes.
Now, you said they were forced to watch. Is this because they were captured, or the whole town was forced to watch?
Everybody who would just pass was forced to watch. Yeah.
Now, when this would be reported in the papers, would it be reported? Well, terrorists are killing Nazis, or was
definitely?
It,
yeah. They were terrorists in the eyes of the Nazis. Yes.
Fascinating, just fascinating. You know, we have Doug Valentine coming on next week on Thursday night on GetVocal.com, who wrote the book about the Phoenix program in Vietnam, which was pretty atrocities you could describe going on over there.
Yeah.
And these practices go on till today. How about Abu Ghraib? Did you investigate Abu Ghraib?
Yeah, a little bit. Also, when I studied at Berkeley, so we dived in the peace and conflict studies. Yeah, so horrible. I mean, all the torture. I mean, I'm used to reading witness reports about horrible torture, but Abu Ghraib was really horrible, with Palestinian hanging. Yeah, but yeah, sadly enough, these are methods. I mean, and they were the exact same methods that were used in World War II.
Yeah, nothing's changed.
Yeah.
It's the same tactics.
Unfortunately.
From one conflict to another.
Yeah.
What ultimately happened with these women? Were they ever captured?
Yes, of course, they had to be extremely dangerous, but really sad that at one point on March 21st, 1945, to be exact, Hanni Schaft was just riding her bicycle, and she was stopped at a routine checkpoint. And then she had to open her bag, and the Germans discovered illegal newspapers. So that's why she was arrested. At the same time, she was carrying her gun with her in her purse, but the Germans only discovered that later, when she was brought in for questioning. And then at the same time, the German soldiers saw her red roots coming out of her hair. So then they knew, okay, we're very sure that this is Hanni Schaft, the girl with the red hair that we've been looking after for so long. And yes, that meant that she was brought to prison, and she was tortured badly. But she did not reveal any names. Truus and Freddie and the entire Council of Resistance, they knew that Hanni had been arrested, but they tried to release her. They tried to do anything really to get her out of prison, but in vain. Because Hanni Schaft was executed by the Nazis on April 17, 1945. So today is the 18th of April. So yesterday, exactly 75 years ago, Hanni Schaft was executed by the Nazis in the dunes here. And there was an agreement between both Allies and Nazis not to execute any people anymore, because they knew that the war was about to end. This was not even 3 weeks before the end. World War II for the Netherlands. So it's very tragic that both parties, by the way, did not stick to this agreement, and yeah, she was executed.
Hani Schaft was executed yesterday. How many years ago?
75.
75
Exactly
years ago.
75 years ago, yeah.
How old was she when she was executed?
24.
24
yeah.
years old.
Yes.
Now,
very, very sad.
is there a statue someplace in honor of this woman?
Yes. Here in the city of Haarlem, in one of the city parks, there is a statue called Woman in Resistance, and it is depicting Hannie Schaft. And it's really funny that Truus, who survived the war, she became a sculptor, and she made this particular sculpture. So it's very, very special. And every year in November, there is a commemoration service for Hannie Schaft there. And the reason why it's in November is because Hannie Schaft was reburied on November 27th, 1945, in the presence of the Queen, here at the honorary cemetery, a military honorary cemetery, very close to the spot where she was executed. And there's 371 men, and she's the only female, the only woman lying there. So it's pretty special.
So you said in the presence of the Queen. Netherlands has a queen?
Yeah. Well, now we have a king.
How do you get that job? I love that. How do they get away with that, man? How do they get away with that? I'm the queen. Yeah. Get out of the way.
Yeah. We have a constitutional monarchy, so it's more like a figurehead. But we have the king now. Yes,
that's what they say. But still, they're not working. They're not doing anything. A figurehead. They're getting paid pretty good. They're living pretty good. The figurehead.
More historical figure. Yeah.
Now, this story is just such a beautiful story, and I'm learning more than I learned last time. It's just such a beautiful story. Has there ever been a movie made about these young women?
Not yet.
There should be.
Stay tuned.
Yeah, there should be. This is gold. This story is gold.
Yeah.
What about the
but both Truus and Freddie, they survived the war. Actually, Freddie was arrested at the same day as Hannie Schaft, at a different checkpoint. She didn't have any illegal newspapers with her, but she did have a gun, her gun with her, although she was not supposed to carry any weapons if they were not on a mission. But Freddie, she was still very young, but I mean, at the time she was 19, and she looked much younger than she was. So when the German officer asked her for her identification papers, she told him that she didn't have them because she hadn't turned 15 yet. And under 15, you didn't need any ID. So the guy believed her and let her go. So she was really, really lucky because, who knows what might have happened otherwise. She might have ended up just like Hannie. So yeah, both Truus and Freddie survived the war, but they were completely traumatized. I mean, they had nightmares, they had depression, and what we would nowadays call post-traumatic stress syndrome. Truus became, like I said, a sculptor, and she was really outgoing, would go to schools to share her story. She met several heads of state. And Freddie lived a more secluded life. They both married and got children. And Freddie's way of dealing with the past was really just focusing on her family. She hardly ever talked about the war. My personal interest with this story.
Let's get to that. Let's get to that after the commercial break. We're going to take a little commercial break. We are here with Sophie Holdemans, and the book is called "Seducing and Killing Nazis: Hannie, Truus, and Freddie, Dutch resistance heroines of World War II." Incredible story. We'll be right back with more of Sophie Holdemans, international criminal lawyer, after these messages.
All right.
And now a word from our sponsors.
Have you ever thought about opening your own mobile cart or kiosk business? Maybe the facility you manage could establish new revenue by adding coffee, food, or retail services. Cart King International can be the answer to your